Sorry about that. I need to go and buy a memory card. Okay. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Okay. My phone got a little full just I had to clear up some space. But yeah, we're back at it. All right. In the back to the commentary. In the day Yahweh gives you rest from your sorrow and from your fear and the hard bondage in which you are made to serve. Yahweh announces a day when he will give real rest to believing Israel. And of course, I'm using the term to try and make it seem as though anybody can be saved. But once again, it is for a select group of people, okay, that cosmos, that orderly arrangement, which are the elect of the nation of Israel. Because what we're talking about right here, right now, okay, this Isaiah 14 is actually going into the whole nation, through the elect of the nation of Israel, okay, because once the elect are delivered, the whole nation is delivered, and the two-thirds will come back in the line of the elect. But you don't want to be coming back in that two-third lots, okay. Anyway, let's continue reading. The Lord announces a day when He will give rest to believing Israel. They will have rest from sorrow, from fear, and from hard bondage. The rest is the birthright of every believer in Jesus Christ, okay? And that is, of course, false because these Christians don't know what they're talking about. The rest is only for the elect of the nation of Israel, and those are, I believe, in Yahweh Shai, okay? Because that JC, that Jesus is a false idol, another God, another name, okay? And that name is not the name by which our people can be saved. And the book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 12, clearly explains that, okay, that there are names, that have been set up on the earth, whereby our people can call upon, and our people being the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the scattered Israelites, scattered elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Acts 4, verse 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Okay. Now we continue reading. Then will you take up this proverb against the king of Babylon? In the day of restoration, the defeat and weakness of the king of Babylon will be exposed, and Israel will rejoice. As this prophecy continues from the context of Isaiah 13, it is important that we remember that Isaiah has two aspects of prophetic fulfillment in mind. First, there is the intermediate and partial fulfillment regarding the empire of Babylon and its king. Second, there is the distant and ultimate fulfillment regarding the spiritual empire of Babylon, the world system, and its king Satan. The spiritual empire of Babylon, the world system, and its king Satan. Now, let us highlight that statement, okay? Because the funny thing about this whole situation is that, Israel will tell you all day, okay? These Christians will tell you all day that Satan is ruling on the earth, that Satan is the king of the earth, okay? Now, who or which group of people have the most power on the earth? Who set up the current system that is being used upon the earth? And watch these Edomites go quiet, okay? Because those people that set up that system, they are working hand in hand with Satan, okay? They are the wicked, they are the agents of the devil, okay? And Esau will try to dissociate himself, or these low-level Edomites will try to dissociate themselves from the elites, okay? When in all actuality they are one and the same and they are part of them. Because a lot of Jakes call it the system of white supremacy. But in all actuality, it's not white supremacy, it's Edomite supremacy. And even the lowest level Edomite, okay, pushes that wickedness and they are in support of it and they will defend it even at their own detriment because they understand what will happen to them when Jake gets into rulership, okay? Because there's a lot of you Israelites that see how these devils work and that know that they are the devil, always gets messed up or confused about why they are still continuing their wickedness even at their own detriment, even at the risk of their own destruction, because they know that this is their last rulership. Even the lowest level Edomite understands that they can't allow you Israelites to get into power. Okay, continuing. Some strongly disagree and see this passage as only referring to the king of literal Babylon and having no reference to Satan at all. John Calvin, okay, an example of that. Now, I'm not going to read all of that, because it's all Christian folly. We already know what this breakdown is going into, and it's only speaking about the spiritual demon Satan, okay? we think of the proverb against Saka. It's only speaking about Saka. That's Satan right there. It's only speaking about Esau, Edom, and his rulership. Okay, let's continue on to the next one. So and this is number 6 now, and I'll highlight that so I can see it. So this proverb against the king of Babylon was in a partial sense in the mouth of the returning exiles when Babylon was finally conquered and the people of Judah could return to the promised land. But in an ultimate sense, this proverb against the king of Babylon will be in the mouth of God's people when the world system and her king Satan are each conquered and destroyed. Which of course that is 100% true, but he won't tell you who Satan really is, which is of course Satan is Esau Edom, okay? The devil is Esau Edom, not just the elites, but even the low level Edomites. The whole family is involved in this conspiracy, okay? Which is going into, Psalms the 83rd chapter. Let's continue reading on now. Let's continue reading on. There's so much more to get in this. Now we're jumping down to Isaiah 14:9-11. And it reads, Hell from beneath is excited about you to meet you at your coming. And let's get that. Hell from beneath is excited about you. Hell itself is excited to meet the king of Babylon because it can't wait to be the place where the one who tortured so many is tortured himself. This is true both for the literal king, the king of literal Babylon and the king of spiritual Babylon, okay? And of course, that as Christians, they must push the doctrine of hell. And there is no place like hell, okay? Because when he talks about hell, he's actually speaking about the grave, destruction, okay? Or in other words, captivity. Because that is the hell that Esau Edom will have to endure, the captivity. This is the hell right here, Isaiah 14 verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them into their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And that is the hell that Esau Edom will have to go through, because it will be a very harsh rulership that we will put under these devils, that we will put in, to these devils, okay? And the word here is Sheol, or rather Shawal, and the word is Sheol, underworld, grave, hell, pit. The underworld, place of no return, without praise of God, wicked sent there for punishment, and what is going into is death, okay? So this system is going to perish, okay? And the inhabitants of this system are going to be destroyed as well. And Esau, Edom will go into slavery. The nations will go into slavery. When he's talking about hell right there, he's talking about the rulership of Esau, Edom. It is going to die, okay? That's basically what this is all about, okay? The red dragon, the kingdom of Esau, Edom, the rulership, the system of Edomite supremacy is going to fall and is going to die, and it will not be revived, okay? The Most High will not set it back up again at any time. Let's continue on. That's basically it, okay? Let's continue on. Hell from beneath is excited about you to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. And that's right, because right now at this time, okay, Esau Edom is so weak that, even all the nations are trying to gang up against them. That's why you see the BRICS nations, Russia, China, South Africa, India, Pakistan, so on and so forth, all these different nations trying to find an alternative to the petrodollar. They are trying to break down the NATO and the EU and their power structure that they have set up on the earth, okay? Now, continuing on. Have you also become as weak as we? Have you become like us? When he went to hell, the king of literal Babylon was exposed as a mere man, though he thought of himself as greater than that. And this, of course, is not speaking about the king of Babylon, because there is not just one king in Babylon, okay? Nebuchadnezzar ruled and enjoyed his rulership, and the kingdom of Babylon fell during the rulership of his grandson Belshazzar, okay? And they were given their appointed time to rule. And their rulership did not end with a bang or with great violence, but with a surgical strike and a very simple transition of power, okay? Now, continuing on. We often, to his great delight, exaggerates Satan's status and importance. We think of him as the opposite of God, as if God were light and Satan were darkness, as if God were hot and Satan were cold. And the funny thing is that the person that pushes that doctrine, that ideology the most, is the plantation Christian, wacky-tacky Christian church. And now they are making it seem as though it doesn't make sense to think of, the Most High as the opposite of, or like as Satan as the opposite of the Most High. When in all actuality, you Christians are the one that started that doctrine, because we in this truth, the Hebrew Israelites, starting from Great Millstone, the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone on down, we tell you straight up, okay, all things are under the rulership and control of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Satan is under the control of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, okay? Esau Edom is under the control of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. So there is no opposite. There is nobody that is against the Most High or, adverse to the Most High or his adversary. No mate, okay? The Most High doesn't have mates. Let me get that. That's Deuteronomy 32. Okay, the Most High doesn't have mates. Deuteronomy 32, verse 39, and it reads, "See now that I, even I am He, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." Finish. Okay? So, but let's just continue reading. Satan wishes he was the opposite of God, but God wants us to know that everyone will know someday that Satan is a mere creature and is in no way the opposite of God. And this is the pride of Esau Edom being exposed right here. He that exalted himself as the Most High, showing himself to be the Most High, okay, worshipped as the Most High because he wants to try and set himself, as an adversary to the Most High. But the Most High is not Yahweh Basham Yahushai, does not have a mate, okay? Let's continue on. Your pump is brought down, the maggot is spread under you, and the worms cover you. That's Isaiah 14. Let's just go to that. So I can make sure I can read. Let's just go to that so I will know which precepts that this is actually talking about, okay? Isaiah 14, verse 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worms as is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. And let's hear the commentary concerning that. In the end, it just won't be a defeat for the king of Babylon, both for the literal and spiritual kings of Babylon. Their defeat in hell will be disgusting and degrading. Once again, this has nothing to do with the Babylonian Empire during the time of Isaiah. This was a future prophecy, okay, because the prophets were not just dealing with immediate prophecy, but they were projecting and looking far into the future, okay. The real future is out here, and the prophet Isaiah saw the fall of Babylon the Great, okay. That was the real, he saw the fall of Babylon the Great and the Most High delivering our people. Okay, that was what this is actually going into. It's a future prophecy and a far into the future prophecy, and it is still a future prophecy that has not yet been fulfilled to this day, and it has not been fulfilled in any way. Okay, because it's Isaiah 14 verse 1. For the Most High will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. That of course has been fulfilled. But what we're talking about is the fact that we are not yet in our land. Okay, that we have not yet been set up in our land. And if you ask these Christians whether this prophecy has been fulfilled or not, they will tell you that no, of course it hasn't. If you ask them, do they believe that the Jews that are in Israel right now are the true Israelites? They will tell you, of course they do. Then you have to ask them again. So somebody is lying, right? Somebody has to be lying, right? There's an obvious discretion, or it's not discretion, but there's an obvious, basically there's an obvious what's what I'm looking for right now, contradiction, okay, and it can't be from the Most High. So we already know who is actually false right now. Okay, the Israelites are not in their land just yet. Now let's continue on. Now it's Isaiah 14 from verse 12, and it reads, Isaiah 14 verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Here, the prophets identified the king of Babylon as Lucifer, son of the morning. Some debate if Lucifer is a name or a title. The word means morning star or day star, referring to a brightly shining object in the heavens. Whether it is the title or name makes little difference. This once brightly shining king of Babylon is now falling from heaven. at least they got that part, but they won't tell you who the king of Babylon really is. And the king of Babylon is actually talking about Esau Edom, the last kingdom, the last beast that is to rule upon the earth. Okay, the four beasts of Daniel. The first one being the Assyrian Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and the Greco-Roman Empire. And now we are in the last leg of this Roman Empire, and it is about to fall. So that is the king of Babylon. This is actually talking about, and his fall from heaven is his fall from rulership. Heaven means rulership. Heaven means paradise. Where you sit upon the clouds and look down on the people, like this Edomites love to do. Okay, in the prophetic habit of speaking to both a near and a distant fulfillment, there is no near fulfillment. There's only the distant fulfillment. Okay, Isaiah was looking all the way into the future for this one. Let's continue on. Let's continue. Let's continue on. Isaiah 14 verse 3. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregations in the sides of the north. Okay. So now how art thou cut down to the ground? What a contrast, this being one so high, one so shining, one so bright is now cut down to the ground. And that's right. Though the joy of the hypocrite, Job 20 verse 4, though the joy of the hypocrites is, the joy of the hypocrites is but for a moment, okay? Let me just get that. I don't want to butcher it, so let's just go to that. Job 20 verse 4. Okay, Job 20 verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? And that is the fate of Esau Edom, the king of Babylon. Okay, let's continue on. For ye have said in your heart. Here, God tells us the reason behind the fall of both the literal and spiritual king of Babylon. The fall was prompted by something he said. Even though he may have never said it with his lips, it was enough that he said it in his heart. I will ascend into heaven. It was as if Satan said, heaven will be my home and my place of honor. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will be enthroned and will be exalted above all other angelic beings. I will also sit in the mount of the congregation. I will sit in the place of glory and honor and attention. I will ascend above the heights. I will continue to rise even in heaven until all see me in my bright shining glory. This is of course what Esau Edom has done, trying to make the stars his nest. Okay, basically by trying to explore space. Okay, explore space, explore subspace, explore and try to discover the mysteries of the universe. Because when he talks about ascending into the stars, it's not just talking about Esau Edom trying to travel to space, but in actuality, he's talking about this devil's science, okay, in which he's trying to use to uncover the secrets of creation, the secrets of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, okay. That's why these devils are basically experimenting on everything in order to uncover the secrets of the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai and see whether they can also take control of, or at least reverse engineer the creation of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, okay. I will be like the Most High. And that's basically what Esau Edom believes, because he believes that he can crack the code of the power of the Most High, man, and get that same power as well to and for himself. Okay. So despite Satan's desire to exalt himself, he will not be exalted at all. Certainly, there is a sense in which is exalted right now, but this is but an eye blink in scope of eternity. Satan, like all those who desire to exalt themselves, shall be brought down, as the scriptures say. Okay, as the scriptures say, him that exalted himself shall be abased, and him that humbleth himself shall be exalted. But even more so, pride cometh before destruction. Let's get that. And haughtiness before a fall, right? So this is the book of Proverbs 16 verse 18. Pride goeth before destruction and an haughty spirit before a fall. And Esau Edom is in the process of his falling right now, okay? And he will be humbled by the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh, and he shall know that the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh is truly the power of the earth, okay? Now let's continue on. Okay, now it's Isaiah 16 and 17. Okay, Isaiah 16 and 17, and it reads, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? The nations are amazed at the fall of the king of Babylon. Okay, though when the king of literal Babylon fell, his weakness was exposed, and others were amazed that at one time he had so much power and so many feared him. The same will happen when the king of spiritual Babylon falls. People will see him for what he really is and be amazed at how much power he actually had. And basically, the Most High will reveal Esau Edom. Let's get that. That's 2 Thessalonians 2. And this, of course, once again, is not speaking about ancient Babylon, but it's speaking about the modern day Babylon, which is America, okay? The Revelation 17 going into Babylon the Great, and this is the actual spiritual Babylon. You want to know what or where spiritual Babylon is? It has a physical counterpart, a physical place on the earth, which is America, the US of A. So now, the Second Thessalonians 2, verse 6. And now ye may know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Okay, and this is of course going into the prophets. The Most High will expose Esau Edom through his servants, the prophets. Okay, so now Esau Edom is being exposed. His secret is being uncovered. Babylon the Great is being revealed to be the wicked. They are being revealed to be shown as the problem that is on the earth right now. Esau Edom is being exposed, and everybody is seeing him for what he truly is. That's why the scriptures say, art thou become as weak as us, right? Because all the nations are gathering their weapons right now, preparing for war, because that is the next thing that is on the minds of these people, okay? Now, continuing on, 18 to 23. The amazing, 18 to 23. And it had a good title right there. Let's go back to that. The amazing and bloody destruction of Babylon. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. Okay, now let's see how Esau will explain this one. In this brief section, Isaiah brings his focus back more upon the king of literal Babylon. He notes the comfort and ease the other kings of the earth enjoy, but not the fallen king of Babylon, who instead cast out of your grave like an abominable branch. And this, of course, when he's talking about all the other nations are at rest, or the other nations are at peace, right? Isaiah 14 verse 18, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house, in the kingdom, okay, after the 1,000-year tribulation, when Esau Edom is finally wiped out, okay, Saka. But yeah, all the nations will be in at peace, okay, all the nations will be living safely and quietly, peacefully in their land, so long as they follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, okay. But now a terrible thing has happened. He was not given the honorable burial deemed so important for monarchs. Even the common man regarded proper burial as essential. Instead of a proper burial, the king of Babylon gets a bed of maggots and a blanket of worms. And that is basically how the fall of Esau Edom, okay? And nobody will bury it and nobody will miss you. You will be like, as the scripture say, you will be like a dream, in which somebody wakes up from, okay? But anyway, continuing on. The destruction of Babylon, both literal and spiritual, will be complete. And the Lord will cut off from Babylon the name and remnants. There will not even be a remnant of Babylon left. And this right here is showing you that it wasn't ancient Babylon that was destroyed, because ancient Babylon was, it did not get destroyed. It wasn't destroyed in a way that there would not be a remnant left, because there are still relics. There are still different artifacts from ancient Babylon. Okay, and what all that happened was a new king was set up over Babylon, which happened to be Darius the Mede. Okay, and that was the start of the Medo-Persian Empire. They assimilated Babylon into their empire. Okay, Babylon was not destroyed; it was taken over. With minimal efforts, minimal damage to their kingdom. So this, of course, is talking about a different Babylon, which is America, which the Messiah has already prophesied will be completely destroyed with nuclear fire. And nobody will dwell in that land again. There shall not be no inhabitants in Babylon again. I think that's Obadiah 1. Okay, that Babylon has been, that Babylon will be destroyed. It will be the habitation of, let's get that, every unclean and hateful bird. The dragons of the wilderness, right? So this is the book of Isaiah 34. Well, this isn't it. Okay, here it is. Okay, Malachi 1 verse. No, this isn't it as well. Now let's get that one that was going to every unclean and hateful bird. That should be in the book of Revelation. This isn't going into what I'm talking about. That should be in the book of Revelation. So this is the book of Revelation 18 verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is falling, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Okay? And that's already showing that Babylon still exists to this day. And he's not talking about ancient Babylon here, because there is no correlation you can make with Isaiah the 14th chapter and ancient Babylon, but rather using Babylon as a metaphor, a proverb, a byword. Okay, it's like not a byword, a proverb, a deep dark saying for this kingdom, because you go into the word Babylon. Okay, let's go to that once again. Isaiah 14. Let's go to that. Isaiah 14. You go into the word Babylon, and it will show you that the word goes back to the Hebrew word Babal, which means confusion, because the main thing that is being pushed on the earth right now by Esau Edom is that confusion. Okay, so let's get that. Babylon H Strong's H894. Okay, stuck here. Data is slow today. That's just part of living in a dead world. Let's get that. Let's go.
Strong's H894. Bavel.
And the word is Babal, confusion by mixing. And that's basically all we need to get about that. Confusion, basically, and the word confusion, of course, the etymology of that word means with mixing. And that's why you have in Babylon the Great all kinds of people, all kinds of doctrines, all kinds of philosophies, all kinds of various things going on in that kingdom, man. Complete and utter confusion. And the Most High will destroy Babylon the Great, okay? So now let's continue. And he didn't even talk about, Isaiah 21. He didn't even mention Isaiah 21. They completely glossed over it. So this is the book of Isaiah 14, verse 21. They didn't mention this one. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the world, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant, and the son and nephew, saith Yahweh. And of course, they didn't even mention that one, showing you that this is not actually talking about Satan, but it's talking about, a man. Okay, and it's talking about the whole nation of Esau Edom, okay? Because if you can connect the dots and see that, oh well, spiritual Babylon is the system that is ruling over the earth right now, over the earth today, then that means that those that are in charge of that system, they are the ones that the Most High is talking about destroying, okay? All of their family, all of the people, all of the people related to them, the son, the nephew, okay? Let's go back to that. Yeah, the son, the nephew, the children, okay, all of them being cut off. Any remnants, any son, all the men, okay, him that pisseth against the wall. That's showing you that the whole family of Esau Edom has been targeted for destruction by Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, and they will all fall into that captivity because of their iniquity, because of their evil that they have done all over the earth. You see how they oppress the whole earth, and let's get that. He oppressed a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. So this is the book of Micah 2 verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And this is, of course, speaking of Esau Edom. Now, verse 3, Micah 2 verse 3. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for the time is evil. Okay, that is the whole family of Esau Edom. Man, woman, child, baby, old man, old woman. And the old men are the biggest devils, man. I'm looking at you, red shield. All right, you know what yeah, I can know who I'm talking about. Okay, that's saddleback bag of evil, man. Anyway, that's basically it right there. Okay, so we've made things clear. Isaiah 14 is going into the downfall and destruction of Esau Edom, okay, which represents Babylon the Great in this modern day. Okay, so with that, all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kwadash, Wa Abad Babal, and through the Spirit, I hope you Akim, you are quite edified. Shalom.